Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Katie and today we are unboxing and doing the challenge for July ScrawlrBox. If you like these kind of videos where I unbox and create, why not hit that subscribe button if you haven't done already. And of course a little like goes a long way too. Anyway, shameless plug out the way, let's talk about the contents. So yes, upon opening all of these goodies, it looks like it's an alcohol ink kind of box. We have a very colourful, vibrant print by Jess Kirkman, who is this month's featured artist, as well as a matching sticker. And of course we have the good old Scrawlrzine, which gives us all of the lovely hints and tips to use our supplies. And plus, who doesn't like a nice magazine to read with a cup of tea or something? So, we have 3 Marabou alcohol inks. We have it in magenta and a cyan colour, as well as a very nice sparkly shimmery one. We've also got a Marabou alcohol ink extender, and I'm going to say that's a little bit like how I use the isopropyl alcohol. We have 1 pipette for applying the ink, I'm going to assume, a paper straw to blow the ink around on the page, and a Pro Art Masterstroke paintbrush, which is a very small round brush. The surface we have is a ScrawlrBox own brand Yupo paper pad, and it's 100 GSM, but the thing is about Yupo paper is it's not actually made out of conventional materials. As you've just seen from my little test swatch, it does weird things to the ink. Now, speaking of which though, how gorgeous does that shimmery ink look swirling around? I mean, I had to put a slow-mo on that just so you could appreciate it. But as you can see how the alcohol ink lands on the paper, it's just very, very weird. It looks streaky if you use just a brush, but it does nice things when you throw it on there. I also included a cotton bud or a Q-tip to apply and remove some of the ink. Again, it's just another way of making marks. Now, I have used these before, but maybe not in this kind of way. I've done a lot of resin-based art in the past, and I have a technique where I throw the ink onto the Yupo paper, let it do its groovy thing, and then once it's dry, I add a UV resin over the top. Once that has cured, I'll peel it off and you're left with that groovy pattern on a transparent piece of resin. So I have some experience in that area. What I can tell you is it's very difficult to form anything precise with this paper. And I do go on to do that throughout the video, but I am just playing around with the colour here. I also forgot to mention that the theme this month, the Scrawler Challenge, is Nebula, which is very appropriate. However, I did terribly at creating one and I got a little bit carried away. After dropping the 2 coloured inks down, I'd throw it in a little bit of shimmer, and then I would use that alcohol extender to create more patterns, because when you add the clear alcohol onto the page, it looks like it pushes the pigments away. It's a very, very weird combination. And personally, it's actually not a favourite medium for me to use. I kind of like the pattern that's created there, but it's incredibly frustrating for me to do anything with it, if that makes any sense. So here's a little demonstration of where I'm coming from. I thought I would try and do some form of portrait here, and again, I suppose it's having to change my way of thinking on how to apply this medium. As you can see, it's quite impossible to get a flat colour, and quite rightly so. This combination is not designed for that. However, trying to do a face on here and that ink, even with the tiniest amount, it spread. Oh boy, it spread. You only needed a couple of molecules of this stuff on your brush and it would travel halfway across the page. I just about managed to create a face here, and again, I am just playing around here and seeing what I can do. As soon as I added the hair, that's it. Her face started vanishing, and it's so weird how this behaves as a combination. I find it really frustrating, and again, this is down to user error. I've seen some wonderful things done with this medium. It just doesn't fit into me, I'm afraid. But the thing I found really frustrating about it would be you'd sort of have this groovy little pattern on the go. You'd leave it for a bit to dry and then you'd come back and it'd be completely different. And sometimes it'd be really nice and you'd be like, yeah, I'm really glad I left that as it is. But then sometimes you come back to it and again, use it airy. I've probably put too much ink down and it's just all pretty much one colour and a bit of a streaky mess. But I think I might just be waffling a little bit here. For me, I'd just use them for the groovy patterns and add to the resin. And it was just very, very difficult to do anything else with it. But here's where I tried. So I thought a cat would be a good subject here. There's not too much you can get wrong with a cat, right? I started off with the background and let that do its thing. And it was very difficult to try and just get a basic form of a cat. And if you're wondering which bit the cat is, it's the white part in the middle at the moment. I'd get all this gorgeous texture down in the background and then I'd try and add the detail in and it would just vanish. It was so frustrating from trying to get a detail point of view. Quite mesmerising though from a watching ink perspective, but to try and get that detail down, you can see on screen I'm just fighting a battle against the properties of these pigments. But persevere I do. I watered down that magenta colour just to try and get a lighter area between the fully pigmented and white parts of the paper. But it was just so impossible. I mean, I did actually enjoy playing with this, but I did find it quite frustrating and it's not really a medium I'm going to return to very much. I thought by using a very lightly dampened Q-tip with the alcohol would just help to create some texture and a texture that might just be able to maintain itself. And I was quite happy with how it was creating fur. It wasn't really coming out how I imagined it to, but I was a little bit happier with where this was going. The Q-tips as well are really useful for removing ink too, as it just absorbs it straight away. I do believe you can pretty much reuse Yupo paper if you clean it off enough with the alcohol ink. So, if you do make a massive mistake, you can kind of wipe as much off as possible to a certain extent. I tried to use that lifting technique to create somewhere where the eye would be, but with the minute amount of alcohol that was on the Q-tip, it was still too much and it just kept pushing those pigments away from the area I was working on a little bit too much. And as you can see right now, it is that ongoing battle of trying to claim some definition here and the materials just saying, no, Kate, no, you're not going to do what you want with this. But I do kind of get something that almost looks cat-like. Now, it did say in the Scrawlzine that to add details and extra bits, you could use a Sharpie or a paint pen. So I'm going with that. This has been hard enough, so I'm going to take that. They said it wasn't cheating, so I'm totally going with that. I added some details on with a paint marker, and I did feel a little bit better about it, but by gum, this was a really difficult box. I'm not really sure how I'm going to do a beyond the box with this. I also did just play about and go wild with it, but it looks pretty, but I'm just not sure what I can do with it. The surface stays really shiny and sticky still. But overall, I actually do think this box was worth it. Not my cup of tea though, it was a bit of a struggle. We'll have to see what I do with it next. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, there should be some more on screen right now I think you'll enjoy. And in the meantime, I'll see you on the next video. Bye!